Happy holidays, Nail Geeks. Today I have 3 different tutorials to share with you guys. I'm squeezing in this tutorial video quite at that very end here, and I realize it's kind of late, but I definitely wanted to do this now that this channel is relatively new, and this was really the main reason why I wanted to start this channel was for nail art. So let's get started. I am increasing the level of difficulty for each of these looks. So for the first one, it's going to start off just what I would consider a little more simple, and then we'll slowly get into what I would consider more advanced stamping techniques. So this first one, I did a Christmas holiday light look, and I'm using a prototype from Quixotic Polish that I got from the indie shop this year at the San Antonio convention. It was so much fun, and I do promise I will have a video very soon of the VIP bag as well as some of the things that I got at the convention, but this was in a trio pack from prototypes that I got there, and this was my absolute favorite that I got. I really hope this makes it to a main collection. This is what I would consider a very light, almost pale gray linear holographic polish. It's very pretty. In person it is just a touch silver, obviously from the Spectraflare pigment giving it a silvery finish. Now here I am using Cuticula's nail tape to protect my cuticles when I go to stamp, and for the images I'm getting them from MoU London's Festive Collection Plate 3, and I'm using right now Funky Fingers Dark Night. This is a one coater black that stamps very nice. Normally I would be using Moonflower Polish Noche, which has been my go-to. However, I am empty on that bottle, so in the meantime this is a fantastic replacement. You can find it at Five Below stores if you have one near you. And here I just stamped it using a extra squishy stamper from Lantern and Wren. I got this in my VIP bag from the indie shop. If you've been following my videos, you've seen me use this stamper a ton. It is literally my favorite stamper ever, and I've been stamping and doing nail art stuff for several years now, and hands down it's the best one I've ever used. My cleanup brush is from Baroness X, and I will have all the details below this video so you guys can see exactly what I'm using and where to find them and whatnot. So as you can see, that nail tape really helps with cleanup, and I didn't have to really do much with it. Now here for the colored lights, I'm just keeping it real simple. I'm using a dotting tool from the Born Pretty store. I think I got it like a 4-pack for 99 cents. It was fantastic. So I'm using a fairly larger dotting tool here, and I'm just going in with Moonflower Polish Rojo and Verde. This is the red and green here, and I'm just going in and just making a little dot where the Christmas lights would be. Once you top coat, you really can't tell that I went over the stamp, and even if your dots aren't perfect, that's totally okay. Like I said, you'll see here in a few moments that you can barely tell just using a dotting tool over the stamp. Now, of course, I wanted to be a little extra, and I told you guys in my Quixotic Holiday Collection review video that Snowy London was my go-to topper, and hands down, so I have to use it again because it's so much fun. And typically I find that when you stamp your nails, I think adding a glittery topper really can hide any imperfection with your stamp, in my opinion. And so I just wanted that little bit of extra oomph. So after using Snowy London, I'm completely sealing up everything with Night Owl Lacquer's Patience Not Required top coat, and everything's smooth and glossy and just super sparkling, real fun. I really enjoyed this one. I actually went to a party with it and got a couple compliments. It was really nice. And here is the final look. I really enjoyed this one. Super simple, and I think if you're newer to stamping, this one might be one that is easier to pull off. Next, we are going to do something just a little more difficult. Now, in this look, I am making a gradient with Night Owl Lacquer's Pluvial File polishes. I do have a video review of that collection as well. Here I'm using Fine Piece in the Rain rhythm of the rain and watching the rain for this gradient. Now, when you use polishes that are not super thick in a gradient, you want to use some type of base. So here I'm using Funky Fingers Gesso, which is the white that you're seeing. And I'm going in with a cheapy, just dollar store makeup sponge, and I'm starting off the gradient without the black because I really want to build up that color. And these polishes, like I said, they're not like stamping polish type thick, so putting it over a white or depending, you know, a darker color or whatnot, I wanted them to blend really well. And given that the blue and the purple here that you're seeing, they're kind of like super similar in the same color palette, so I felt like if I started off with the green here and then did the gradient, it probably wouldn't have blended as well. So I wanted to have the foundation first to really get the colors to pop, and so you can see just a subtle change in color as we're going. Now, sometimes I do have a problem when I'm loading the sponge and I find that I'm not making my stripes wide enough on it. So as you're seeing here, I am missing a little bit from my tip, which is totally fine because like I said in a previous video, gradients are very forgiving. You can do all kinds of mistakes on it and you can hide it fairly easily. So here I'm going in, now I did sponge on those 3 night owls roughly 3 times, and you'll see here in a minute when I'm talking about mistakes. I almost wanted to start over, but I wanted you guys to see how to kind of troubleshoot your way when you're doing nail art, that you can eventually get to a point that you can hide any imperfections. So that little tip of my nail there, that corner, is going to continuously give me problems, and when I go in with the black on one of the final sponging coats, it will cover it, and then you'll see how I'm going to have to fix it because it's, for whatever reason, it's giving me some issues and not really popping up. So I have heard that some people typically wet their sponges before doing a gradient. I don't do that. I've tried it in the past and I didn't really have very good success with it. So here the sponge is dry, and I feel like maybe if I wet the sponge, it might have been a little easier and I might not have had that little bald spot, but this is typically what I do when I'm having issues with a gradient. I just go in and I just apply that last color on its own, and then if it's doing what you're seeing here, where it's still not really sticking, I'm just going to go in with another layer of sponging, and then you kind of move the sponge just a little bit lower with your color, and then it should hide and then give you that perfect transition into the darker color that you're seeing here. So once again, I went in with that black, and then just to make sure that that tip was covered, and then now I'm going to do one more layer of color just to kind of get everything to blend together, because you don't want it to look blocky. You want it to transition well into each layer of your gradient. Now the plate here is an older plate. This is a CC and Sissy plate. This is a Christmas plate. It's one of the larger plates that I have actually. This one is quite old. I want to say it's from 2013 or maybe be 2014. I'm not too certain on that, but I will link you guys below to their website if you want to check out their plates. Once again, I'm using the very squishy stamper from Lantern and Wren, and like I said, if you're a beginner stamper, this is a fantastic stamper to use. I have not had a single problem picking up any polish or any image for that matter with this thing. It's so insanely sticky and so easy to use. Now, a little tip if you are new to all of this is I use a lint roller to clean off the stamper, and it picks up any pieces that you don't want to use. Like for example, how I got the snowflakes on my pinky nail. I didn't want any of the other images, especially if you're using a plate that has loads of images in one place and you only want to isolate one specific image. The lint roller makes it really easy. You just kind of dab it on there and get off what you don't want to use. And here I'm being extra again, and I'm using Snowy London from Quixotic Polish as a topper to kind of give it a nice sparkly effect, and once again hide any imperfections that could have occurred on that gradient. I'm topping again with Night Owl Lacquer's Patience Not Required, and I can safely say if you are looking for a top coat that does not smear stamps, the Night Owl lacquer is definitely one that I recommend. It's smooths everything out, and it does not mess up any type of nail art that I personally have had underneath it. Now for the final look, I really wanted to be extra with this one, and I wanted to show you guys some of my old school style nail art. I used to do a lot of advanced stamping techniques, and then I kind of fell off that train when I started swatching more polishes and reviewing things, but I kind of wanted to get back to my roots for what I used to do for my holiday nails. Now this one, I'm going back to the Moyu London Festive Collection Plate 3, and here I went back to the clear jelly stamper. This is off of Amazon. I'll link you guys to the exact one below. It comes in a trio set, which is really nice if you're going to do advanced stamping like this, and you can do multiple images on different stampers to kind of speed up your process of coloring in the images. So you basically want to pick up your image with the jelly stamper, and you want it to dry down. So here I waited like a minute or two and made sure that the black polish was pretty dry. And then I'm going in with a dotting tool, and I'm using Moonflower Polish's Verde for the green, and I'm just kind of filling in and coloring in the little leaves here for the holly. Now the nice thing is about doing this is that most of the time when I do this, I will allow it to dry and then wait until my nails are just a little bit tacky from a top coat of some type, and then I can stamp it on. But I wanted to show you guys that there's a whole other type of advanced stamping that you can do. And here I'm going to make a decal so you guys can see that you can basically make your own little sheets for your nails. That will make more sense if you're unfamiliar with that in a few moments when I'm finished coloring in the leaves here. So this type of decal is just going to be for the stamping on, and then like I said, in a few moments on my other finger I'm going to show you guys the decal type look. And then usually you can just flip over your clear jelly stamper and just check your lines. If you make a mistake and you color outside the lines, honestly I think that looks fine too. It kind of gives it an artsy effect. And the benefit to using the clear jelly, as you're seeing here, is you can line up in your placement and see exactly where you're going to put your stamp. Personally, I think that is super handy. However, I will notate that while this jelly stamper has been the most successful one that I've used, it doesn't always pick up super fine images, which is where that super squishy stamper comes in. That's why I keep going back to it in every single stamping video that I've done so far, that it picks up images so much easier than the jelly one. Now here I'm going in with the dotting tool and with Moonflower Polish Rojo, and this is just filling in once again the little berries here, kind of making it look more like I was able to pick up the image with the red on here. And also I wanted to incorporate the red that was on my ring finger and my pinky, which over there I'm using Tomoko from Zoya, which is another pixie dust, one of my favorites. It's super sparkly, and that one is also Moonflower Polish Rojo as well. So for the advanced stamping technique here, I'm using, once again, the same plate, and I'm using a different image. I'm picking it up with Funky Fingers Dark Night, which is the black. And once again, this is another great stamping polish. If you are not in the market to buy an actual stamping polish, I have had a lot of success with this particular one, and like I said before, you can find it at Five Below stores for like, I think it's $1. Now here I'm doing something similar to what I was doing before with the dotting tool, and I'm going to color in that bow and just try to keep it in the lines as much as possible. Now here I'm going in, I'm checking, making sure that everything looks good. Now this is where it's going to get a little crazy. I'm going in with Verde, and I am completely, basically flooding the stamper. So you want to go in pretty thick. You don't want the polish to smear anything, because even if you waited until those bottom layers are dry, sometimes your top layer can kind of re-wet it. So it's okay to go in and just kind of glob it on there. And I just let it dry. Most of the time I'll let it dry naturally. In this case, I was trying to rush so I can get this video out, and I just use a blow dryer to kind of dry it down for myself. And then here I'm using, once again, Patience Not Required from Night Owl Lacquer, and I am just covering the entire image. I used a blow dryer once again to kind of make sure to get everything dry super fast, and then you kind of stick your finger a little bit around and kind of push down the stamper, and then you can get it to come off. Now, normally I use the tweezers for all of these things, but I unfortunately was not able to find the tweezers in this video, so we're just going to go and roll with it. Now, when I'm attaching the image that I just pulled off, the decal from the stamper, I will put a layer of top coat on my nail, and I'll wait for it to barely get tacky. You don't want it too wet because it's going to smear your decal, but you don't want it too dry because then your decal is going to slide right off of it. So you want it to maybe 2 to 3 minutes with a quick dry top coat so that it'll get nice and tacky and then it'll stick. So here I'm going to spare you guys the level of cleanup that I typically do when I have this. You want to use 100% acetone to really grab on and kind of push the brush down against your cuticles to make sure that you're not going to ruin the image that's actually on your nail. So here I'm going to try to attempt to incorporate the gold from my other 2 fingers and into my middle finger here, and once again, dotting tool, keeping it simple, and just applying it to the little stripes here. The nice thing about Tomoko for a pixie dust is that it is super fine. It's a really nice like white goldish type glittery goodness. So I think it's very versatile. It is in my top 5 pixie dusts, and I'm ashamed that I did not put it in my pixie compilation. I might even do a pixie compilation part 2, to be honest, because there's some really good ones I feel like I missed in that video. So I will link all of the products that I use below. Some of these things I have been using for quite some time, and I've had great success with it. I can't recommend, say, the cleanup brush or the cuticula nail tape. I can't recommend that stuff enough. I think it's come in very handy when I'm doing stuff like this. Also, I will link the stamping plates that I use below as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I feel like there's a lot of questions that people have over stamping and where to get started, and you know how easy or how difficult it could be. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm more than happy to start doing some more nail art tutorials on here. I have loads of things that I can definitely show, and how I have these little tips and tricks on how I get certain things to work out for nail art. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.